So we're going to go ahead and get started with this session about using Docs and remote teaching. So once again, we are the technology training team. You'll see at the very top of the screen bit.ly/PGCPS remote teaching. And that is our site where you can access our resources. It's quite likely the site that brought you to us today. If you are a Twitter person, a tweeter, then you can follow us and interact with us at T3PGCPS, and we'll be very happy to connect with you there. And we're going to go ahead and dive into this session. We have three members of the T3 team who will be presenting today. We may have more who are here in chat. So definitely we're going to just introduce ourselves very quickly. So if we could kick things off with Megan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Megan Eric, and I'm one of the specialists on the technology training team.
And also we have Jake.
Hi, I'm Jake Foschel. I also am a member of the technology training team.
All right, fantastic. And my name is Sarah Thomas, and I'm also a member of the technology training. Today, we are doing an overview of G Suite, but particularly we're going to be looking at two tools, Google Drive and Google Docs. So G Suite stands for Google Suite, and that is a whole host of tools that are created by Google and provided to us for educational purposes. So everything collectively is referred to as G Suite. So this is Google Suite for education. So the very first tool that we're going to talk a little bit about is Google Drive, which is kind of like a hub where we have all of our files, all of our tools, all of our documents, our storage. So there's so much you can do with Google Drive. I have to tell you, it has changed my life for the better. And you can store a tremendous amount of space on there, actually an unlimited amount of space. So in a second, we'll play a little bit of a guessing game. But as you can see on the slide, the primary functions are to store, create, and share files, kind of like a file cabinet. On the bottom row, then you see some of the other tools that we are providing training on this week, as well as in the coming weeks. So you have classroom docs, slides, and forms. So again, we encourage you to go to bit.ly/PGCPS remote teaching to take a look at the full schedule. However, today we are going to be we are going to be taking a look at Docs. And Docs is very similar to Microsoft Word. Probably most of you have experienced Microsoft Word in some way, shape, or form. So the good news is, if you know the basic functionality behind Word, then you know a lot of what you need to know about Docs. So it's word processing, but there's some additional benefits, and we're going to dive into those in just a moment. So a couple of tricks and tips, excuse me, for organization when it comes to Google Drive. So one thing that we suggest is using consistent naming conventions. For example, if I'm doing a unit on similes and metaphors and figurative language and all that good stuff, one of my favorite topics, then it's very helpful to name your files in that way so that if you're, going down your list of files within your Google Drive, then it won't be very hard to find. So, and also if you were to search for them, then if you have the word similes in there, then it will pop up. So that's one tip that we would like to share with you. Another one is to create a master folder for each school year. So we've been using Google Tools in our district for a very, very long time. So if you have been on board with them since the beginning, then no doubt you have several years worth of work. So what we suggest as a best practice is to create a folder for each school year. What I tend to do is that I take those folders and I dump them all into a big folder called archive when I'm done with them. And that helps to clear up some of the visual aspects of Google Drive. And we're going to get hands-on in just a moment. Also, you may want to organize into folders and subfolders so you can create folders much like you do on your desktop. How you have folders, you may have a folder for a particular topic and you put all your files relating to that topic within that folder. You can do the same within Google Drive, and you can even create folders within folders. and have folders inside of those. So, so you can have your own organizational system in Google Drive. And one more tip is to color code your folders. So as you see in the example above, how there's 2019, 2020 is green, 2018, 2019 is blue, then we have this orangish color for 2017, 2018. So that's one tip that you may want to take with you. You could also do this if you're an elementary teacher and you teach multiple different subjects, and you could always color code your folders for the different subjects. Or if you're departmentalized, and you could do them for your different sections. Same thing goes if you're middle school, high school, and you have several different mods or preps, then you may want to consider color coding your folders according to your different sections that you teach. All right, so moving right along, talking a little bit about what Google Drive is. So Google Drive is, you may have heard the term storing something in that refers to Google Drive. That's one form of storing things in the cloud. It's a cloud-based system, which means that everything lives in the internet, and it's very helpful because what you can do is that you don't have to take a flash drive with you or anything of that nature. You can just sign in, and your information will go. It'll follow you where you go, and you are the only one who has access to that information unless you share it, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But Google Drive eliminates the need for flash drives. I've had situations where I've lost flash drives, or they've gotten full or broken or something to that effect. So Google Drive can really help you in terms of that. And with Google Drive, you can store an unlimited amount of storage. When we actually look at Google Drive and see the different features and functionalities, you'll see exactly how much I've used. Now, guessing game, try to predict what that number is, and you might be surprised when we actually get there. The next thing you can do is you can collaborate, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But this is like a major power up when it comes to your workflow, because you can collaborate with students, you can collaborate with staff, you can collaborate with people outside the district, and it's all in your hands. Like an old cartoon I used to watch says, the power is yours. So you decide who you're going to share with. It's all under your control. And last but not least, creating. So you're able to create different file types directly from within your Google Drive. So those are three of the main functions of Google Drive. So how does it work? Now, if you look at this slide, then you'll see on the top left-hand side, there is a blue box with W in there. And that is the icon for Microsoft Word. On the bottom right-hand side, you'll see a page, it looks like, with some white lines on it. It's also blue. That is the icon for Google. So it's very important to get to know these icons, because this is how the files will show up in Google Drive. And when you're in your drive, you can easily see, oh, that's a Word file, or oh, that's a Google Docs file. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but how does Google Drive work? So let's envision we have a file that we've created. So this Microsoft Word file, we want to get it to our colleagues. So what we do, we go ahead and we email it to person A, person B, and person C. So they each have their own version of the file. They do their edits, they send it back. And now look at all of this. Look at all of this work we have to do. We have to compile all of these different versions into one. Oh, that's so much trouble. That's so much work. Wouldn't it be easier if we could just send that one Google Doc to the different people? And that way they can all work on the same file. There's no need to go back and, manually put in edits where it's supposed to go, because everyone will have access to the same version of the same file. So this is a really powerful tool. So I can't wait to show you more about that, and we can dive into it. Opening Drive. What you want to do is make sure that Google Chrome. You want to use the Google Chrome browser because it plays well with Google Drive. Google plays well with Google. You'll be able to access it from different browsers, yes. Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Edge, all of those will let you access your files, but you won't be able to get the most out of it. There's so many more functions that you'll be able to do if you use it within its native Google Chrome. So, one of the easiest ways to access it, just like it says on the slide, is to go to your PGCPS email, click on the apps launcher, and choose Drive. So let me show you what I mean. Opening a new tab, okay? And you see I'm logged in, or I could have gone to our PGCPS homepage and logged in from there. But I'm logged in, and when I go to my mail, or even from this page, you'll see that I had the apps launcher there. But the apps launcher is what we're looking for. So when I click on this, then I will see the Drive icon. And for me, I moved it right here because I use it all the time. So it's like the first icon on here. So I would just click on it from the Drive icon and bloop, there we are. So very, very simple to get to. So your Google Drive, what you can see in your Google Drive, let me go ahead and move this over a little bit. So in your Google, search for your different in your Gmail. You can just type in the name of the file and search. This is why it's important to have the standard naming conventions, because now if I want to go look for similes, then I can just type in similes in my Drive. If you want to get fancy with it, then you can click the drop down menu and that will let you filter for the specific file type you want. Moving down the list, and you'll see an icon switch between grid and list view. So when you click on that, then it will change the look and feel of your screen. There's no right answer with this. It's just whatever works best for you. I tend to like list view because it shows me just the name of my different files and folders and not necessarily a preview. And I have a lot in there. So that works best for me, but you might want to see more of what your files and folders look like. So you could, grid view might be good for in that case. Now let's move over here to the left-hand side. So items create or bring in will be in your My Drive. So those are files that you create or that you upload or you generate essentially. Now, that are shared with you, you might hear someone say, "Hey, I shared a file with you." And if you may or you may not receive an email, depending on what they check. But assuming that they shared it correctly, it will show up in the shared with me space. Okay. Moving down, you'll see your different files and folders. So you folders first, and then underneath that you have your files. And down here you see how much storage you've used. Not that it matters because again, it's unlimited. So let's look at mine really quickly. I'll show you. Up here I have my search bar, my drop down, I have more controls over here. Okay. I also, let me go down to my drive. So in the My Drive, right now I believe I have it set to grid view. I'm doing the session yesterday, and you see in grid view I can kind of get a little bit of each thing looks like. By default, I like to set it on list view and see how it kind of consolidates them and makes them very small so I can see more files at once. Okay. In addition, I have my shared with me, and I can see all of my awesome files that other people have shared with me. And it even shows you sometimes who shared what with you at the top here. Okay, and down here at the bottom, you see, I told you it was a ridiculous amount of storage that I'm using. So it really, you really can upload unlimited unlimited space, but you know, definitely you want to just think about what you're uploading. Okay, so that is just a quick walkthrough of the Google Drive, of different features you might find there. That's come up a lot has been converting from a Word file, because as we've made this switch over to remote learning, then sometimes people have files that they've used in the past and they want to have their students write on it, right? So for that, then if you upload a file directly as a Microsoft Word file, unfortunately, your students will not be able to edit it as is. So one thing that you can do is that you can easily convert a file from Word. So here are the steps, just to go over them really quickly, and then we'll demo it. In your Google Drive, then you're going to click the new button and then file upload, and then you will upload your file, and then double click your file in your Google Drive, and then just click the open with Google Docs at the top. So voila, three very quick steps. All right, so let's see what this looks like in action. So I'm in my Google Drive. I'll click on new, file upload, and I'll find file. And I'll know it's a doc file because look at this extension, .docx. I know that that is a Google Doc file. So I'm going to go ahead and upload. I might need to pull my screen up a little bit. There it is, starting upload. And I don't know why it's taking so long. There we go. Okay, now once I have that, then I can just find my file in my Google Drive. Okay. It jumped automatically. I do have so much stuff, then it's probably taking a while. But when it does get there, because that's what it takes to get through. So why am I unique? So I'm searching. Here it is. Hooray. So you see those here and then open with Google Docs. And now it's doing its little conversion operation very quickly for us. And, converted itself to a Google Doc. Okay. Now I see at the top, it still says Microsoft Word format. So what I need to do is go here to my file menu, save as Google Docs, and opening. All good. So at this point, I can just share it with my students in Google Classroom. They can write on it, edit it, whatever we need to do with it. So that is that in a nutshell. All right, so moving right along, we're going to go to our next slide here. You can use it as an assessment, so you can have you can have your students respond to different prompts or maybe create an essay for them. You can assess their knowledge and their learning. Another thing that you could do is journaling. So this may be a great time for students to journal on their learning, and then you can kind of see their thoughts through their journals. In addition, graphic organizers, absolutely. There's some great features within Google Docs that we'll visit in just a moment that really helps students categorize and organize their thoughts for planning. So think about this. This is this tool can really help us extend the learning. So all right, a little bit about opening a Google Doc from the apps launcher. So we already talked about opening Drive from the apps launcher. So we're going to shift gears into specifically talking about Google Docs. So let me actually click all of this. Okay. And I can open my apps launcher once again and open directly to Docs. And once I get to Docs, then you'll see at the top there are templates. So we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But I can also all of my recent Docs, open them from there, or a blank one. So that is one helpful way to go to it. And one more way that we want to show you how to access Docs is if we're in our Google Classroom, and let's say that we are planning lessons for our students and we want to create a lesson for our students. Here into my Google Classroom, we'll pretend that all of my students are in. So when I go to classwork, you can just click on this and click on create. Okay. And then I will choose assignment. And you'll see as I go down here that I have the option to add, and I could also create a doc straight from here. So that would be how I would create an assignment that would then populate, and I could say your assignment, blah, 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 blah. So you'd be able to edit your new doc, including directions or any other details that you may have for your students. All right, so at this time, we want to definitely invite you to post any questions that you may have in chat. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and Megan is going to take over.
And you can continue adding questions over there, but I'm going to go ahead and move us forward through the presentation. So Sarah showed us how you can create a document when you're in classroom. So right on the fly, you can go ahead and create that template or that writing space for your students. But often we plan in advance before we get into classroom. So I'm going to show you how you can create a blank document, not one from Word and not one in Classroom, and how we can go ahead and use a lot of the editing features within there. So I'm going to actually jump over to Google Drive. And we're always going to come up to this new button that you see in the top left corner. And you'll see Google Docs is listed about halfway down. When I come over to the right, I see I actually have two options here. I have blank document or from a template. There are a series of templates that are actually available from Google that they've put out. And there's also a set of templates from Prince George's County Public Schools. Right now, I believe there's only 2 graphic organizers in there, but we hope to be adding more to that. And I could access those here from a template. But I'm going to go right to blank document so I can start from scratch. And you'll notice when this loads, this looks very similar to what we saw when Sarah just did, when she attached a document right from Classroom. So here we go. We have a nice blank canvas, and you'll see just moving through kind of what Docs looks like or the interface that we see here. In the top left corner is where I can give my document a name. So for the sake of today, I'm going to pretend that we're working on a project about what plants need. I'm just going to go ahead and give it, I'll call it science, what plants need. And maybe this is lesson 1. All right. And then I see that I have my menu bar here as well as my toolbar. And my menu bar and toolbar, if you've worked in any of the other Google tools, like slides or drawings or even spreadsheets, a lot of the tools are very similar. So you'll see a lot of consistency across, which I love. So you can kind of learn it once and apply it in many locations. You can see mainly what we'll work from today is going to be our insert menu and maybe a little bit from our format and our tools menu. And I'm not going to read all these options, but I encourage you, if you don't know where something is, whenever you're working here, in any of the Google tools, either just click a menu, see what's there. You are not going to break Google. You are not going to break your doc. So feel free to click around and see what's there. But also, if you come over to the help menu and you click inside this little search box, you say, I remember she said this. Just start typing what you were looking for, and it'll remind you of where to go for those things. All right. So I'm going to get started with my What Plants Need document, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a title. So when my students come in, they see the heading, What Plants. And I'm going to ask for some grace on my spelling. It's always worse when everybody is watching. So there is my title, looks kind of boring, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. And then I'll use this formatting toolbar that we see here. And the tools here even look very similar to what we see in Word and a lot of other places as well. So of course, maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger with my font size, and we'll go like 24, it is a title. And then moving over to the right, I can go ahead and center it so it looks a little bit nicer. And then because it's elementary, maybe I'll make it have a fun font or a fun color. So I can use my A here to change my text color. And it's plants, so why not go green, right? And if I want to change my font style, I see Arial as the default. but I can click that drop-down menu and I can choose a different kind of font. So just for the sake of today, I'll pick one right here. We'll say maybe this one. But if I don't like the fonts I have here, I can always go to more fonts and I can choose to add in all kinds of other fonts just by clicking on them and clicking OK. And then I have even more in my list. But I'll just work with what I have today. All right, so what do plants need? Great. Now let's think about what other kinds of things can I put into my doc. I'm going to jump back over to our presentation for just a moment. And you'll see these are kind of the 3 to 4 basic things that we typically include when we're creating a document. Besides just text, we'll probably include a hyperlink to make it easy for our students to go from our document to another resource. We'll probably include some images that we found online or maybe that we have in our drive. And I would caution you just to make sure that if you're inserting images that you found online, we just want to make sure that we have the right to reuse them. And tables, you're thinking, why would I use a table in a document, right? I'm not doing anything fancy. But when we're working with students, tables are a great way to, if it's a collaborative document where you have lots of students working, it's a great way to define their working space. So just like in the classroom, you might have, I'm taking it down to like the kindergarten level right here, but like say, I would say everybody sit on your square, and that's where you're going to sit for our morning meeting. In the same way, in my Google Doc, I would say, okay, everybody find your cell or your row, and that's where your information is going. Or it just gives me a place where even if it's just one student in there, it kind of defines where I want them to put their response to some sort of prompt. And then finally, drawings is a tool within Docs. It's also its own tool, but it's an easy way to combine images and text into one sort of bigger image. So let's jump back to the doc that I started and see how we can incorporate some of these features. So sticking with my what do plants need, I'm going to just start off with a question, kind of see what the students know. So I'll say, what are at least 3 things that all plants need? And I'm pretending that I'm teaching this, that I'm creating this, whoops, sorry about that, for a student much like my son, who if it's not very specific, he'll try to get out of it. So I want to give them 3 spaces to write their responses. So I'm going to come up to Insert, and there's Table. And as I come over to the right, you'll see it kind of shows me what my table might look like. Since there's 3 items, I'm actually going to make it 2 rows, and I'm going to give it an extra one for my header row, and we'll see why that works here in a minute. All right, so I'm going to say, what are at least 3 things that all plants need? And then explain how they help. And then I'm going to give my table a header so they know very clearly what to put here. What do they need? Or actually, I'll say plants need ... and this helps because ... And now my students know I'm going to type exactly in these spaces to put my answers, and hopefully that will help. So now this is okay. It's still kind of a plain document. I'm going to add in some images that my students can either just can kind of enhance the view, or maybe they can respond to something. So to insert an image, I can come up to the Insert menu, and you'll see that we have image as my very first choice. And there are a lot of ways to bring an image into your document. The first one, if I have it stored on my computer, I can just go ahead and upload it. Search the web. That's what we're going to do in just a minute because I don't have a picture. If I have it stored in Drive or Google Photos, or if I have a specific link. Or I love this one, especially right now while we're in distance learning, by camera. If I had a picture of something maybe that I drew or an object, like let's say I had an actual plant in my house. I have no green thumb, so I have no real plants. But I could turn on camera and I could take a picture of me holding a plant and then have the students talk about that. But for the sake of today, I'm going to just search the web. And you'll notice a little box opens up over to the right where I can search for images. And you'll see a little message here. It says, only select images I have confirmed I have the license to use. But even more than that, the images that show up here are ones that are already licensed for reuse. So I'm just going to type for watering can, and I'll do like kid. And here we go. So here's a person watering a plant. I'll pick that, and you'll notice when I click on the picture, I can either click the plus sign to view it a little bit bigger. And if that looks good, I can click the insert menu. The insert button, sorry. Just a moment, my picture comes in, but whoa, it's a lovely picture, but it's way too big. So I need to click the picture. And you'll see when I click, I get these nice little blue dots. I'm just going to click and drag, and I'm going to drag down from one corner to the other to sort of resize my picture. Might have to do a little bit extra. Here we go. And now he fits just perfectly below my table. I can use the icons at the bottom to center it. And oops, I'm sorry. Use the icons at the top to center it. And now I can just kind of type below, and maybe I ask the students, describe how this plant's needs are being met, or something like that. And then I want to make sure my students are knowing a kind of how much of an answer I expect from them. So again, I might actually insert a table. And this time, it's just going to be a one-cell table. And if I were my son and I saw this, I'd probably type a really short answer. I want a little bit more from them. So I'm going to just click on the bottom box of my table and drag it down so it looks bigger. And we're kind of tricking them like, hey, there's a big space. Maybe you should type a big response. And now I've given them a structured place to put this. All right. So now one other thing that I wanted to include here that I haven't shown you yet is a link. So maybe my students, maybe they don't know about plants, right? Maybe they forgot. So I'm going to come back up to the top of this, and I'm just going to say, watch this video, then respond below. Again, pretend I can spell. Okay. So I can't embed a video here, but I've already gone to YouTube and found a video. We'll pretend that I watched it and it's great. It's going to be engaging for my students and all of that. So I'm just going to copy the link at the top. And when we're working, it's really important that we grab the link in the address bar, not our share link. You always want to grab the one that's youtube.com. So I've copied the link. Now I'm going to come back to Doc. And I want them to actually click on the word video. So I'm just going to highlight the word video. And I'm going to come up to the insert menu and choose link. And then I'm just going to paste the link where I want them to go. So paste and click apply. Now, I will say Google has about 10 ways to do everything. So honestly, I could have also used the link icon on my toolbar, or I could have even right-clicked and done insert link. However you choose to do it is fine. Essentially, we're doing all the same thing. But in this blank document, I've now added text. I've added a link. I've used a table to create some structure to provide the students space to put their answers. I put an image in here so that students can respond to the image, but I can use that technique for all different kinds of things. And then again, at the bottom, I've provided a space for the students to type their responses. Okay. All right. So let's jump back over to our presentation and let's take a look at a few other features that Docs has. Spelling and grammar, so voice typing and translating. These are all really cool features. I'm going to go back to the document that we're working in. And I did actually a decent job of censoring my spelling, but let's say I didn't, right? Google will underline in red anything that is wrong. I can always come up to my tools menu and check spelling and grammar. And notice it's checking grammar and spelling, so I can just run spell check. And then it'll prompt me to go through these. So I can ignore one, and I can accept this change, and so on. So that's just a quick thing I like to do before I share a document out to make sure that kind of covered all my bases. Now, this next feature is helpful for us as a teacher, but it's so powerful for your students, especially our younger students or our struggling students, or even our older ones who have really great ideas but struggle to take it from brain to paper or brain to keyboard. It's voice typing. So I'm going to come down here to where describe how this plant's needs are being met. I'm just going to click inside there, put my cursor there, and come back up to the tools menu. And you'll see an option here for voice typing. I'm going to click on that, and you'll see a little microphone pop up. The first time I use this, I may also see a little notification near my URL that says I have to give permissions to the microphone. But I'm going to click to speak. And when I do that, you'll see my microphone change, and watch what happens on my screen. The little boy is watering the plant. This is giving it the water that it needs. Since it's outside, it's also getting room to grow and sunlight. All right, so you can see it wasn't, whoops, sorry, there you go. It wasn't 100% perfect. I said sunlight, it took some, but it captured a lot of what I did. So I can go back and just do a few quick edits and then move on. So voice typing is great for us as our hands get tired, but even better for our students. The other option that we had in our tools menu that you may have noticed just below or above voice typing is translate document. So I'll just use this document. Let's say I wanted to provide this document in a different language, either because I want parents to be able to help or my students, I want them to just to be able to have access to it. So I'm going to come up to tools and do translate document. And it's going to sort of suggest like, hey, this is what we're going to call it. I can keep it like that. And I'll just take it into, we'll say French because it's right here. And click translate. Now, if you notice very quickly at the top, a new tab opens. So it's creating a whole second document for me. And it's translating it. So I have to be honest, it's been several years since I had high school French. So I would make sure that I turn to somebody I know who is a native speaker. For example, Sarah, I might ask Sarah if she could take a look at this and check the French to make sure it's accurate. And if she's like, yeah, that looks great, then I can go ahead and share it out. But this is a really quick way to get an item from one language to another. And again, you'll see I still have my English version and then my French version. So I have both. Okay. So there is so much we can do in Docs. Those are kind of our quick ones, the biggest bang for your buck as far as the features and the ones that you'll be able to reuse over and over. So now I wanted to just kind of take you into 3 examples that we pulled out and talk about how we see those features in here. So the first one is this collaborative group work. I'm going to open this example. And when you come back to this presentation, you'll be able to click on these examples and open them up and explore them on your own. This is just a basic doc that has just text, really, right? Text and space to type. And then there's tables at the bottom to make sure that students are providing all of the responses that we're asking them to. But in this case, this would be a collaborative doc so that you can see here it's referring to team members. So that they're indicating who's participating and they have to also all contribute. So this would be a document that different students could work on together so that by the end, they have all of the responses compiled. Our second example is, is one focused on problem-solving methods. This one could also be a collaborative one, but this is just pointing out, again, how we've used the features like text. Here's some bulleting and links, as well as tables to organize what you would have students do. And as we're transitioning from being in front of the students and sort of walking them through, okay, we're going to do this, now we're going to do this, now we're going to do this, providing that complete document with all of those components is really helpful to help them keep track of what you expect and also be very clear about what you expect them to do. then finally, our last example here is kind of a combination of the features that we saw there, but this is more of an independent project, maybe a bigger one to assess their learning on a particular topic, or to walk them through a full unit or lesson. But this one has really used imagery to connect with students and sort of those different font styles and arranging things a little differently, perhaps putting a table and using images on one side and text on the other, and then more tables down below. So really, you can put anything that you want to in a doc. It's just thinking about your purpose. Now, one thing, actually, I should have mentioned this back here on our What Do Plants Need? Notice when we gave the students a space to type, I gave them a table. I didn't give them this. Right? And so I'm going to make it faster. If we were printing this and we were going to the copier, chances are we would make a document that looks like this. We would give them space to write their letters. They're not writing, so we don't give them lines. We give them boxes or spaces or just open space. Okay, so I want to make sure Jake gets all of his time, so I'm going to kind of move on to the next one. Right now, that document that I have that we just created is, oops, sorry about that, is completely just mine. It's not shared with anybody. If I put it into Classroom, it'll easily take care of sharing and I don't really have to worry about that. But let's say I am co-teaching and I have another colleague who's also teaching science and I'm like, hey, I made this stuff. Why don't you use it with your kids? And she's like, yes, please share it with me so that I don't have to do the work myself. So I'm going to come back to that document, and because I see this little lock at the top, I know it's just for me. But I'm going to click on share, and I'll pretend that Sarah is teaching on the same grade level with me. So I'm going to type in Sarah's name and just start typing, and she knows she's part of Prince George County Public Schools, so it pulls up her name. And then I can decide, do I want to give her edit rights, comment rights, or view rights? That's up to you, and it depends on every single document. If I say can't edit, that means she can come into this one and start typing with me. And maybe I want that. Maybe I want her collaborative feedback. Or if I just want her to be able to have her own copy and then she can kind of move forward with it on her own, I'm going to give her can view. That means she can see it in her drive, but she can't make any changes to mine. So I'm actually going to do that for her now and give her a message like, hey, feel free to make a copy and use it. And then I'll send her a notification so she knows it's coming and click send. And I can share with as many people as I want. There's no limit on that. And you can see now my icon changed from a lock to shared with one person. So in that example, I mentioned making a copy. Why would you ever want to make a copy? Well, there's a few reasons. One, somebody shared something with you and you only have view rights, but you want to use it. Or maybe you're, scouring the internet and you found a really great example. God, I would love to use it. But what we know is if you're not the owner, you can't put it into Classroom. You have to be the owner of a document. And the only way to become the owner of the document, if you're not already, is to file, make a copy. So I don't need to make a copy, but I'll show you where that is. Under File, make a copy, and then I can give it another name. I can choose, to share it where I want it organized. Probably Sarah talked about having folders for each course. I would make sure I found that folder and put it right in there, and then click OK. And then I would have the one that I own that I could start using with my students. And I could change it up a little bit, maybe change the language if I need to. Also, if you're working with the content from Mass, you can make copies of that so you can assign it directly to Classroom. So I know that was a lot. There's so much you can do in Docs, and I showed you just kind of the tip of the iceberg, but kind of the basic things. So while I'm transitioning this over to Jake, I'm going to keep my eye on chat if anybody has any questions.
Okay, folks, so with the time we have left, I want to go ahead and I know a couple of you had asked about Classroom. So we're going to go ahead and transition over to Classroom and take a look at how these two pieces integrate. So again, this presentation is going to be made available, so you'll have the written directions, but we're going to kind of walk you through it. We're going to open up Classroom. We'll go to the Classwork tab, click on Create, make your assignment, put in title and instructions, And we're going to use a document that we've already created to build from. So how does that look? So this is my classroom that I've created for today. I'm going to navigate to Classroom, and I'm going to click on Create. And I'm going to create a new assignment. So for this assignment, I'm going to be calling it History of Marvel Comics. Watch the video. Read the assigned reading. Complete the task. So at this point, it's a couple things that I can do within Classroom. I'm going to click on Add. I'm going to go to Google Drive. Sarah mentioned earlier about organizing your drive. So I'm going to go to My Drive, and I'm going to go to my RELA Mod 1. So I'm going to open that up. And I want them to complete, there's two different assignments that are kind of listed here. The first one, this one is a PDF. So I'm going to add this in, and I want students only to view that file. I'm also going to go to Add. I'm going to go to Google Drive, go to My Drive. I'm going to find that RELA Mod 1. And then this is the doc. The icon is indicated there. I'm going to click on that assignment and hit Add as well. This time, I want students to do this as make a copy for each one. So I want everyone to work on their own individual assignment as they submit it. And additionally, I'm going to go to Google Drive. My mistake. I'm also going to go to YouTube, type in and find the video that I want them to watch. I'll grab the video, add that in. So now I've got three different types. I've got a PDF that's a view only. This is the doc that I created with simple questions. Each student's going to get a copy, and I'll hit Assign. So now that gets pushed out to each student, so they all have a copy for that particular piece. This is the written directions for that. This one was for prior to Q&A. You can do view, edit, or make a copy for each student. So a couple things that we wanted to make sure that you have a chance to take a look at. The first one is Google Docs Scavenger Hunt. So I opened this one up. This is an activity designed entirely in Google Docs in which you stay entirely in Google Docs. So the idea is, and it's intended to be a scavenger hunt, you can cut out pieces of this. This could be an interactive assignment that you provide to students. Adjust the vocabulary words at the top. So the first one, define the following words using the define tool in this doc. So on this one, I would click on it, highlight the word, and I can go down and I can hit define. And it's going to give me the dictionary definition that's there, and I can attach that in. So the primary purpose for this tool is to go through and kind of learn what some of the features are. So you've got the design tool. I could put in some vocabulary terms, and this could be a quick, easy assignment that you give for remote teaching to also embed and infuse some technology skills. The Explore tool. So within Google Docs, there's a little tiny cool looking star in the bottom right. If I click on Explore, it essentially brings up the web browser from within Google Docs. So I could type in this question, hit Explore, paste it in from there. I want you to be able to find the Maryland's official state bird and insert the picture in the space below. So you're not making a new document. Everything happens from within. This is a way to learn where those tools are. Megan mentioned the tools earlier. You can go up and find the tools and grab the different elements that you do. If you're working with your students, this is a nice, quick, easy way to have them explore and just do 2 questions per week as an extra added assignment if you wanted to give that to them. The other assignment that I want to make sure that we take a look at, we have the I Am Unique. This is the one that we converted from, Sarah converted this earlier, from a Word doc to a Google Doc. So I'm going to paste this link over into our chat window. So if you see the chat window, you can go ahead and click on that link, and it is going to take you, sorry, to the I Am Unique Because document. So this is a collaborative document. So everybody that clicks on the link will have access to this document. So Dr. Torres is in the document. She popped up right away. You'll notice that several of you are popping up as anonymous. And that's because you've signed in with not your PGCPS account. So students would have access to this as well. So for this particular document, if you look at the very top, I can see everyone who's enrolled or has logged into this assignment, and click on the number. I can scroll down and see everyone who's in. There is also a chat feature if I wanted to have communication with anyone. So for this particular assignment, it's simply text along the top with the directions. I could have done it in different colors. I made the first column for names. Everyone's going to write in their name. Second one fact about you. The second column, one fact about you. The third column, insert an image that represents you. So for the people that know me already, my mom was a clown. This is actually a picture of me dressed up in her clown costume when I was younger. So what you can do right now, pick a row. There's a whole bunch of rows here. Write your name in the first column. Go ahead and throw in some text about you in columns 2 and 3. And then you can throw a picture in there to grab that information about you. You'll notice that you can put text. Sarah added text and an image, but this is an active document where I can see everything that's taking place. This can be live, or it can be something that you assign and then you go and check when you want that to take place. And all I did was post the link. In this, I posted it in the chat window. If I was doing this in Classroom, I could simply post it as a document that they have edit rights to. So if you're in the document, that's great. I'm going to go back over to the presentation. A couple more things I want to make sure that we take a look at. And feel free to add to the I Am Unique later. If you click the link, you can go back to it later and have some practice in there. It will get cleared out later this afternoon. The last assignment, I was talking with Megan earlier this week with her children. Vocabulary for the week. So we were talking about having those lines where students have to write and how insignificant that is if we're doing this digitally. So if I take a look at this, I added a quick graphic at the top. So I've added an image. The first task is put the vocabulary words in alphabetical order. So I grabbed a set of words. The first thing to do after you put them in alphabetical order is define each term. So you have the option, and if you do it like I used to do, students had to define the term in their own words. So they could go to Explore the Define tool and grab that, but ideally they can rewrite each one of these words, or they can click and reorder the words. Fact of the matter, it doesn't matter which one they do, whether they retype them or whether they reorder them. And I could have done this as a table so that they had to reorder them as well. The bottom part, now this is one document as opposed to being 4 sheets of paper all printed out and put together. The second part of the last part, use each word correctly in a sentence. Be sure to make the vocabulary word bold and in a different color. I taught middle school for a number of years, so if I was a middle school student, I would have typed all of my words in white and submitted it to my teacher just to make sure that they were paying attention. So I put that in the directions to kind of offshoot that from there. So I can say arrange. So I'm going to actually use one of our tools we had before. Arrange the vocabulary words in alphabetical order. And then Students have to make the first word or the spelling word has to be in bold. And they have to change the color. You don't necessarily have to give specific directions, but this is the same exact vocabulary assignment that you have provided in the past or may have provided in the past. This gets done digitally, posted out to your students so everyone gets their own copy. They're doing the same assignment, but you're also adding in some technology skills as well, all within Docs. So the last page, the last significant page on this document that we wanted to make sure that you had access to, we threw a couple content areas that were specific, but if you take a look at this collaborative storytelling document that's here, this is a doc. It's literally just a table. So in this instance, I want to tell a story. Students are going to change the image here. Underneath of it, they're going to put text. So I could be telling a story, putting things in sequence. This could be, if you look at how we're operating now, I could use this for a science class, plant a seed that you have and watch the growth. And each day I insert a new picture based on a plant. Or I could take pictures of light that's coming in. One of the things, because I place this in as an image, I can do replace image, same as we did before, and I can upload a picture from my computer. I happen to have a picture on here. It's the one from me earlier. And I can insert that image and it drops it into that location. And then underneath, I can go and put my text in. So then the next picture would be something related to that. So I entered this one in as reading, but it could be reading, it could be steps in a math problem, it could be science, it could be social studies. If we take a look at the reading writing journal, just very quickly, writing journal 4, and then they have 4 journal entries. These are just quick links that drop you down to that specific section. So this will be the student's name or the book, the chapter, journal entries that you want to have them have. So all of these are going to be made available for you as well. And then we have an MLA formatted research paper for those of you who have high school or who are doing major research papers. The other ones that I want to make sure we take a look at, we have an elementary math template where some information's already been provided for you. But I want to look at the 2 for the math listed here. This could be used for literally any content area. So one of the tools that's also available, so I'm going to move this down just a little bit. Pardon my quick typing. So I want to put in a math problem or a math equation. One of the tools that we have access to, if I go up to insert, I can go down to equation. Whether I'm teaching elementary math, middle school, or high school. Once I hit that, I get a new toolbar that's listed, and I can insert. Here's the division symbol for elementary school division. So I want to do 24 divided by 6 equals, and there's my problem for my students. If I need this to be something more involved, I can go insert equation, and I can put in fractions, I can do square roots, I can do exponents. Most of the features that you would need to build can be added in, and it's all being done from Docs, so it will transfer over to your students naturally. The other part that I want to make sure that you see, here's the example that I did earlier. Solve and explain, and I provided a problem. Underneath of each one, it says insert image showing your work. So as a student, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work out my math problem. 3/7 times square root of 15 equals, and then I need to see all of the work. Once I'm completed my work, I'll put my cursor at the bottom. I'm going to hit Insert, Image. I'm going to go to Camera. Megan showed this earlier. We did it from the context of building a worksheet, not necessarily building it as an assignment that my students would submit. I'm going to click, Insert, and now I can see the work that they have done to make sure that it makes sense. I would probably do that on unlined paper to make sure that it was clear. And then you've got a lab write-up that's in there as well. I'll click on the math for elementary just so that you can see that quickly. This is just a doc. These are each drawing images. And then there's space on each one. So I can provide this to my students. They can complete the work digitally and submit from there. We are 3 minutes past time, so I'm going to quickly go to, this was our big question. How do you guys want to share ideas? Our contact information is listed here. This entire presentation is going to be available. It had to finish recording from yesterday. Is going to be up on the bit.ly PGCPS remote teaching website. You can always reach out to t3@pgcps.org. And then whichever cluster or school you're with, the assigned trainer can get that information to you as well. Our emails are listed here if you want to reach out to us directly. So this will be available on the website for PGCPS remote teaching. If you had difficulty getting logged in from my PPS to this, bit.ly/missing attendance will help capture your attendance so that we can rectify those two places so that you get your attendance taken care of. We also included some resources here, what each one of those items in the toolbar references. So we want to make sure that you had access to kind of see a visual for that if you need it. And then we also provided 2 additional resources. Your first day with Google Docs kind of walks you through some basics, and 10 Google tips for teachers. And I realize that we are already over time. I have been watching the chat. Thank you, Megan, for putting in the remote teaching and the missing attendance information. For those that are still with us, were there any questions that we didn't cover that you want us to try and hit real quick? All right, everyone. If you need anything from us, I'll go back to this one. This is your resource, the bit.ly at the bottom, and Megan's posted that in there. The remote teaching site is going to have all of the resources from docs presented on there. Again, t3@pgcps.org is your primary email to shoot, but you can also email any of the 3 of us and we can provide you the support that is needed.